In order to make the flat sheets of clay, you'll need some plastic wrap or 2 sheets of silicone mat that's usually used for baking. You'll need a couple of strips of the thickness that you want your finished clay to be. I'm making a 1/8 inch sheet today. If I'm using a smaller thickness, I want to glue or tape 2 pieces of wood together. That helps prevent the wood from bowing while I'm rolling out the clay. You can also roll it out to the desired thickness with these dough bands, which you can find at bakery shops. You just put them on your rolling pin and roll the clay until these are riding on the mat. But if you use those, you will still want to have strips in that thickness because you'll need them for the drying racks. You'll also need some masking tape, some pieces of wire about 6 inches long, of course the Creative Paperclay, and a container to put it in if you're not going to use the whole package, just to keep it fresh. You'll need 2 pieces of nylon screen or fabric that allows air to easily flow through it, and 2 pieces of this plastic material. It is used for light fixtures. I'll be putting a picture and a link to it at the end of this video. It comes in large sheets and you can easily cut it with nippers like this to whatever size you want. I'm going to start by taping one piece of the mat to the work surface. Then I'm going to tape the wood strips on either side of it, actually to the mat on each side. I'm going to open up the paper clay. A nice fresh clay should be smooth and moist, about the consistency of pie dough. I'm going to try about half of this package. So put whatever you're not using in an airtight container to keep it fresh for later. And place the other mat on top of the clay. And you can squish a little bit to get it started. And then start rolling it. It helps to turn it over frequently. So basically you just keep rolling it until the rolling pin is riding on the wood strips. Now I don't want it to go off the edge of the mat, so I'm going to squish some of it together here. I think I want that to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to add some more clay. When you've got it to about the thickness you want it, check for any high spots. And make sure it's even. This is pretty good here. Now I'm going to trim it to a rectangular shape, just because when it dries, probably not going to be able to use these ragged edges the way I want to. So I'm going to use the back of the craft knife so I don't cut into the mat, and just trim it to a relatively straight rectangle. And you want to use an up and down sawing type motion instead of dragging it straight through the clay. That will give you a better line. And the next step is to remove the strips from the edge of the mat. And use one of the pieces of plastic and one piece of the screen, and carefully place your paper clay on top of it. And then place one of the wood strips on each side. Normally I'll do a whole tray or rack of paper clay, so I have it on hand, but I'm just showing you the technique. Then place the second strip of screen over it and the other piece of plastic. For the next step, we're going to use the wires and we want to place the wires so that they go through the racks and around the wood strips, and then just twist them tightly on the bottom. And you want to do that all around the clay. Make sure that you are going over the plastic and past the wood. And you want to do that in several places all the way around. gone all the way around, you just set this aside to dry. You can prop it up on some soup cans or paint jars or something to help air circulate around it. And you can also, if you're making a bunch of these, stack them up with spacers in between. Now, although I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to make large sheets of dry clay, just in case you want to make smaller batches, I'm going to show you a couple ways you can do that. I have just a tile here with the 1/16 strips of wood marked on it, taped to it, and that's marked so I can see it. And then I have a 1/8 one also. You can roll the clay out on that, just the same as you did with the rolling pin on the larger surface. Only I'm using a little piece of acrylic rod that I have got from a hobby store. I don't remember what I used the rod for, but something. This would be good if you were maybe just going to make one sign, or just a small project that you needed a dry piece of clay for. Cut it the same, trim it the same way as you did the large piece. Or you can trim it to the shape that you want your sign to be. Then put a screen on top of it, just like you did with the other thing. And instead of the plastic, just put some wood strips across it, scrap wood. And then you can use these little clamps or similar things to clamp it on there. And then just set this aside to dry, same as you did for the larger version. You probably won't have any problem with the clamps unless you're attempting to make a video of it. You can also use, of course, use a larger tile for that, and you can even use the back of a baking dish if you'd like. So just tape the strips to the side of that, and then go ahead and use the mat over top and roll the clay out on it, and you will of course end up with a little indentation, but that's not a problem. You can just put some fresh clay in there. You can also roll it out on the baking dish and leave it on there, and put another, take the strips away and put another baking dish on top of it, and put it in your oven at the lowest setting your oven can go. Or if you live in Arizona like I do, you can just put it outside and it will probably be a little warmer than the lowest setting of your oven. Your paper clay might take a day or two to dry. You'll know it's dry. It'll get a little bit loose in the racks because it shrinks very slightly as it dries. And when you take it out of the rack, you'll have something similar to this. I always have different thicknesses on hand for various things I'd like to make. You can saw and cut this just like you would use for a soft wood like basswood, only the advantage is that you can fix any mistakes you make. These are some pieces that my youngest grandson is cutting out to make an adobe house. You can carve it. This is a piece I was starting to carve for a wishing well, side of a wishing well. And these are signs that I've carved with this material. It makes great signs. And you can also color it and make flat dry sheets. And you can break these up to use for stones in your garden or garden path. So I'm going to also show you some other pictures of this, so I hope you'll give it a try.